Hi, welcome to this week's midweek warm-up. We are definitely running a bit behind, but...
It's been a busy week.
Yeah. So we are in Job chapter 27. We...
Are overheated?
I am comfortable. Nathan is overheated.
That's because hot.
No. It's very beautifully sunny today. We had some weird weather. I think everyone nationwide had weird weather Monday. It was like really hot for April.
It also snowed yesterday.
And then it snowed yesterday. And yeah, it was just odd.
Hopefully it'll snow some more. Sound like hot. Listen.
Anyway.
Anywho's
Job chapter 27. Job is continuing kind of his defense.
Yes, this is Job's final defense against his three friends. And it goes on for, I think, 5 or 6 chapters here. Let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah, 6 chapters. This is part 2, so it's a long monologue here. I'm glad they broke it up for us. Otherwise, it'd be like Shakespeare all over again. Although, it'd be interesting, unlike Shakespeare.
Although I did hear this complete aside.
Shakespeare's hate speech.
Shakespeare is now considered hate speech in the UK, or his historical works are banned, as are C.S. Lewis's works and Tolkien's in the UK. So I don't know. It's a little scary when.
Might as well ban reading while they're at it.
I mean, at that point, why read? I don't know. Anyway, sorry.
It's always the New York Times bestseller list.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so starting 27 here. Moreover, Job continued his discourse and said, As God lives, who has taken away my justice? And the Almighty, who has made my soul bitter? As long as my breath is in me, and the breath of God in my nostrils, my lips will not speak wickedness, nor my tongue utter deceit. Far be it from me that I should say you are right. Till I die, I will not put away my integrity from me. My righteousness I hold fast, and will not let it go. My heart shall not reproach me as long as I live. May my enemy be like the wicked, and he who rises up against me like the unrighteous. For what is the hope of the hypocrite, though he gain much, if God takes away his life? Will God hear his cry when trouble comes upon him? Will he delight himself in the Almighty? Will he always call on God? I will teach you about the hand of God. What is with the Almighty I shall not conceal. Surely all of you have seen it. Why then do you behave with complete nonsense? This is the portion of a wicked man with God, and the heritage of oppressors I received from the Almighty. If his children are multiplied, it is for the sword, and his offspring shall not be satisfied with bread. Those who survive him shall be buried in death, and their widows shall not weep. Though he heaps up silver like dust, and piles up clothing like clay, he may pile it up, but the just will wear it, and the innocent will divide the silver. He builds his house like a moth, like a booth which a watchman makes. The rich man will lie down, but not be gathered up. He opens his eyes, and he is no more. Terrors overtake him like a flood. A tempest steals him away in the night. The east wind carries him away, and he is gone. It sweeps him out of his place. It hurls against him and does not spare. He flees desperately from his power. Men shall clap their hands at him and shall hiss him out of his place. So what do you think about that? So it doesn't sound very pleasant to me.
Well, again, he mentions, I'm not going to say you're right just to appease you. My integrity is more important. The truth is more important than just appeasing his friends and getting them to back off.
Yes, but he is obviously once again saying, I haven't done anything wrong.
Yeah.
Which, obviously, in the strictest sense, that's not true. But as far as in the circumstances that he's in, he's saying he hasn't done anything wrong. Which is true.
Yeah. The latter half of the chapter, is it talking about wicked men or rich men or
bad guys?
Just bad guys in general.
Bad guys.
Okay. I don't know. I mean, he's not wrong in what he's saying, but it seems kind of obvious that I don't know.
Well, I think he goes primarily from trying to defend himself here to just outright saying it's unfair how bad guys get stuff. Really. We can talk about that in detail as we go through it. So, as we start here, verse 1 is very important. It says, "Moreover, Job continued his discourse and said..." Let's unpack that verse for a while here.
Done.
Yeah, Job's still talking. That's really what the verse is saying. Job's going to keep talking. As if it wasn't obvious he was still talking, the Bible's saying he's still talking. It's very important to note.
Mm-hmm.
Although it's very coarse to how Tolkien writes here, because if you read through Tolkien's work, he always says, Bilbo said, Frodo said, Gandalf said. That's the only word. It's never inquired, explored, was intrigued by, or always said. That's the literary fact.
They never whispered. They never shouted.
Well, they can say in a whisper, but still say. That really irritated me right at the first time.
Anyway. Yeah.
But anyway, back to Job instead of British terrorists. So verse 2, "As God lives, who has taken away my justice, and the Almighty who has made my soul bitter." So that right there is him blaming God. And that's not a fair assessment of him.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he was pretty accurate earlier on in the book, but now he's at the point of just outright blaming God for what's happening. Because he doesn't understand. Because he outright says right here, "As God lives, who has taken away my justice, and the Almighty, who has made my soul bitter." So he's saying God took away justice from him and made him bitter.
Yeah.
Neither of which is true.
He's putting all the blame on God, and I think there's kind of a desperate... He's kind of desperate at this point, like for relief or understanding or something. And so it's not just him saying, God has done all of this to me, but he's saying, God has done this and not even told me why.
Yeah, I think it's not just that he is desperate, per se. I think it's he's just plain exasperated.
Mm-hmm.
And as a human, we say lots of stupid things when we're exasperated. And it's not because we necessarily mean them. It's just, I guess, really, we do mean them on the inside. But we have enough tact normally that we're not willing to say these things.
Well, and enough, like, we might feel that way, but we can reason and be like, you know, I know that feels that way, but I don't think that they meant it that way. So you can reason that, but when you're this exhausted, this exasperated, a lot of that reason, I think, is gone. It's just...
It goes out the window.
Pure emotion coming out.
Well, it's like it says in James that the tongue speaks from the depths of the heart. And so he wouldn't have said this if he hadn't been feeling it. Because at this point, his filter is gone, basically. And that's a common theme with today's speeches. We need a filter for blah, blah, blah. Well, the filter is not what we need. What we need is a pure and clean heart. And if we have that, then we don't need a filter because nothing we say will be wrong. But our hearts are wrong because we are tainted by sin. And so we say stupid things. And no matter how good a person we are, we still say stupid things.
Yeah. Because
everyone is prone to saying something wrong. Actually, there was a Chuck Swindoll video that we watched a few months ago where he's really old now, like 88, something like that. And he was talking about one of the times that he said something really stupid and then went, oops, I didn't realize I was thinking that.
Yeah.
I mean, it happens to the best of us, much less the worst of us. So, probably should go on verse 3 now. We're 10 minutes in. So, as long as my breath is in me and the breath of God in my nostrils, my lips will not speak wickedness, nor my tongue utter deceit. So he's saying that as long as God keeps him alive, he will not lie about things.
Yeah.
And that's good. That's acting with integrity. That's what we're supposed to do. But part of acting with integrity is being honest with what you're actually saying, because you can say something that's true and not mean it, which still can be a lie.
Well, it's...
because it's deceptive to say it.
I think that's a clarification that we make fairly often. I make fairly often in my head, that someone can say something incorrect and not be lying. If someone says, hey, I'm going to be over there, I'll be there at 5, and they're late because there was an accident or something on the road, they didn't lie to me.
They're just wrong.
They were wrong. They didn't anticipate traffic, or they didn't anticipate some unforeseen circumstance.
But this does go into what Jesus says, because he outright says, not all who call me Lord are going to be ones I go forward and say, yeah, they're mine. So just because someone says, yep, I'm a Christian and God's Lord of my life, that doesn't mean anything. Do they have evidence to prove that that's true?
Fruit.
As the Bible would say, yes. Their fruit to show that they are living that. Because we can say lots of things that are stupid. You can say lots of things that are smart. Doesn't mean they're right, even if they're the right thing to say. It's like the Sunday school answer is always Jesus. It doesn't mean you believe it.
Yeah.
So verse 5 says, far be it from me that I should say you are right. Till I die, I will not put away my integrity from me. And so the you part here is talking to his friends. Because he's saying, I'm not going to tell you guys are right, because that would be dishonest. That's good things.
Yeah.
My righteousness I hold fast and will not let it go. My heart shall not reproach me as long as I live. So he's saying that his own life is proving to himself that he is being honest and true in what he's saying here. Which that's obviously accurate. He is honestly saying what he thinks. Obviously God will shortly actually say, I didn't do this to you. You just don't understand. But he's being honest with what he feels. So that's good. If he's wrong, it's still good, because he's getting it out. And so verse 7 says, may my enemy be like the wicked, and he who rises up against me like the unrighteous. For what is the hope of the hypocrite, that he may gain much if God takes away his life? Will God hear his cry when trouble comes upon him? Will he delight himself in the Almighty? Will he always call on God? So what do you think about that?
It's, again, if God takes everything away, are you going to praise him? Are you going to trust him?
Yes. He's definitely talking about that.
What else?
No doubt about it. But also it has here, the first part of 7 is, may my enemy be like the wicked. So he's saying that enemies aren't necessarily bad, but he's saying the wicked one rises up against you and is outwardly, visibly in opposition. And so it says, even though he may gain much, what happens if God kills him or lets him die? He's still dead. He still doesn't have anything.
Mm-hmm.
Still can't take it with him. And so his question there is, will God hear his cry? And so there have been lots of arguments about whether or not God hears prayers of people before they're Christians. And I'm not sure we can make a definitive answer on that one scripturally. I think it falls more along the line of God hears it, but he is not under a self-obligation to answer it until you're a Christian. Because if God is omnipresent and is everywhere on the planet, at the same time, he has to hear everything. That doesn't mean that he is obligated to answer when someone yells out some prayer about, God save me from getting hit by this bus and I'll serve you forever. That doesn't mean much.
Well,
our nature is to cry out for help when we need help.
that is something that you see a lot in trauma situations and big issues like tornadoes and things. And even like after 9/11, the country as a whole kind of came together and was trying to seek God, but it was so self-serving and short-lived because
it wasn't based on a reformation.
It was based on, I feel like we should seek God, but it was,
we want God to do this for us.
Yeah, we want God to do this for us, but we don't really want to surrender all of the things that we have or all the things that we get to do.
Yeah. Sometimes there are people that honestly make that confession, though. Martin Luther did that when he was around 17, is that he was walking through a field and things around him started getting struck by lightning, and he yelled out, if you save me from this, I'll go serve you the rest of my life. And now we have Protestants, so it worked. But that's not a normal response to that. But sometimes people actually mean it.
Yeah.
So that's between them and God. But here in verse 11, it says, I will teach you about the hand of God. What is with the Almighty I shall not conceal. Surely all of you have seen it. Why then do you behave with complete nonsense? And so previously his friends have been saying, okay, hold on. Let us tell you what's going wrong here, because you clearly don't understand why you're getting punished by this. So let's tell you how God works. And here Job is turning it back on them and saying, I know how God works. Let me tell you what it is that God is doing here. And he says, surely you've seen what God does. Why are you not acting like idiots? Because saying complete nonsense, that's a really nice way of insulting someone. Because it's really saying you're acting like a buffoon. Why aren't you paying attention? So in 13 it says, this is the portion of a wicked man with God, and the heritage of oppressors received from the Almighty. If his children are multiplied, it is for the sword, and his offspring shall not be satisfied with bread. Those who survive him shall be buried in death, and their widows shall not weep. Though he heaps up silver like dust, and piles up clothing like clay, he may pile it up, but the just will wear it, and the innocent will divide the silver. So he's saying that bad guys all get to have lots of kids, blah, 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 because that's how mankind normally works. They don't have 2.54 kids throughout history. But you normally have lots of kids, and if you're not a just man, your kids are going to get killed. All the stuff that you work to get are going to get killed. It's all going to be destroyed, just like Jesus said, if we store up treasures here where moth and rust destroy things, then what are we going to have? And so Job is here saying that you can heap up whatever you want to. You can't take it with you when you die.
Yeah.
That's why he says, though he heaps up silver like dust and piles up clothing like clay. Yeah, he can have all that stuff, but he's going to die, and someone righteous and just is going to get it eventually, he says.
Well, and I think all of this kind of ties back into the beginning part of the chapter as well. That he's saying, my integrity is important. I'm not going to say you're right just to appease you, because appeasing you doesn't mean anything. If I appease you and I have all of these things added back to me, it doesn't mean anything because I can't take it with me. So I'm not going to trade my integrity. I'm not going to trade the truth for what may come, what, men can promise.
Which obviously Satan goes and ties into that with his promises to Jesus of, if you would bow and worship me, then I'll give you all this. And God says, well, I already have it for one thing, but why do I need that? I need my relationship with the Father.
I think in that particular instance, I wonder if there was an underlying tone of, I'll give you all of this and you won't have to go through what you're about to go through.
I wouldn't be surprised if there is something in there, but obviously Satan didn't know what it was that God was doing necessarily. He just knew that Jesus was God and he was there to do something, because why else would he be there? But what it is, I don't think he really understood, else then I think Satan was seeking the satisfaction of having God bow to him, and was willing to say, I'll let go of my claim on all this stuff if you'll worship me and turn the tables, because that's what I wanted in the first place. So I think that's really what he's trying for, is he just wanted what he wanted all along.
And God went, no.
No, it's still mine. I'll let you hold on to it for a while.
Yeah.
Okay, so verse 18. He builds his house like a moth, like a booth which a watchman makes. The rich man will lie down, not be gathered up. He opens his eyes, and he is no more. Terrors overtake him like a flood. A tempest steals him away in the night. The east wind carries him away, and he is gone. It sweeps him out of his place. It hurls against him and does not spare. He flees desperately from its power. So all these things are saying that really creation is a lot bigger than we are. And we can't stand against the power of creation, which obviously he saw firsthand, because a tornado literally collapsed his house on his kids and killed all of them. And so for him to be able to stand here and say that that's something that he cannot fight against, he's at a much different place than most of us are going to be at. Because if you've never been in a place where your kids have been killed by something, you can't really understand him saying, yeah, I know that this is what could happen because I've been through it. But he has been through it, and he's still here saying God's still in control of it.
Yeah.
But part of it also is that you can try and fight it, but you're not going to get anywhere. Job is not saying the same thing as they say in Pacific Rim, where in the Jaeger you can fight the hurricane. No, you can't fight the hurricane. The hurricane wins. There's no option, but the hurricane wins. Unless you're God. God stops the hurricane if he wants to. Man cannot.
Yeah.
And so it ends with verse 23, which is, men shall clap their hands at him and shall hiss at him out of his place. And so that'd be equivalent to us being booed off stage nowadays. We're having tomatoes thrown at us and tell us to go away.
Yeah.
It's, you don't deserve where you're at right now. Yeah, you're suffering. Go away. Go suffer in silence, basically. And it's not really nice, but that is really what we do to people. People nowadays would say it's a downer. You're a downer because you're suffering. Go suffer by yourself. I don't want to deal with it.
I don't want to help you. I don't want to hear about it because of the negative influence it'll have on me.
Your negative vibes are dragging me down, bro. That's not what we're supposed to do. We're supposed to go alongside the person who is down and is having trouble and problems and pull them out.
Encourage and help guide. I don't know. That's why we are the body of Christ, because
we're made to be a body.
Yeah.
Just like I can't pull Emily's finger off right here and have it go move around by itself. Her hand can't come off and go dance around with Wednesday Addams. It's not going to happen. You cut off their hand, it doesn't flop around anymore. Well, chickens do that. We don't have any chickens to illustrate with right now.
Not that we would either.
Well, I mean, why?
You might. Anyway. Point being, Job is...
He's acknowledging that mankind has nothing on what God can do. And that being bad will ultimately get you bad. It is not immediately, but someone righteous will come along later on and will reap whatever bad people have sown, basically. And that's strange to think of, but that is how it works. Once a nation gets bad enough, it collapses, and then someone good comes along and fixes it again. Not as the same thing, but as something new and better. Like even in Jeremiah we were reading last night, or I read while Emily fell asleep. It says that God has called Nebuchadnezzar to be his servant and to come and wipe out everything in Israel. Not because Israel needed to start over again, but Israel needed the idolatry removed. And the only way to remove idolatry is to remove the idolatry. Sometimes you can get rid of the idol, sometimes you have to get rid of the idolater. God said it's time to get rid of the idolaters, and that will fix the rest of the nation. And it really did. They haven't had the same issue with idolatry in 2,000 years now that they used to have. Obviously, there's different issues with idolatry now.
Yeah, I was going to say, I'm sure there are different issues now.
People tend to worship money directly instead of, Asherah poles and Baal out in the wilderness, stuff like that. Or football. Very popular now in the U.S.
Authority or
power.
Their
kids. Activities.
Yeah.
All sorts of things. But long story made short there is that God has the right to use something bad to turn people back to good. And he does it all the time. And so here with Job, it's not that there was bad things to turn him around. It was, I will let the bad things happen to prove how good I am.
Yeah.
And that's what Job still has to get a hold of at this point. Was there anything else in this passage before we go ahead and pray?
Not that I can think of.
Okay, let's go ahead and bow with me in prayer then. Dear Lord in heaven, thank you for this day. Thank you for being great and mighty God. We thank you for Job and the example that he is for us. Thank you for everyone else in Scripture that provides a nice example of such also. We thank you for your Son who is willing to come and die on the cross for us, and that he is willing to go through the worst thing possible so that we could be back in relationship with you. Thank you just that you sought us and have always sought to bring us to you, and that you love us even before we knew how to love. Thank you for everything you've done. Just thank you that you are a great and mighty God, the author of salvation and all of creation. In wonderful name I pray. Amen. And now it's nap time.
Lunchtime.
Same difference.
So thank you again for joining us. Thanks for your thoughts, your comments. Let us know if you had any questions, and I guess we'll chat next week about Job 28.
And hopefully it'll be cooler.
I don't know, we might start clumping a couple of chapters together if they're like the same subject. I don't know.
Why not? These are really long chapters coming up.
So, alright, cool.
Very long.
Thanks for stopping by with us, and we'll talk to you soon.